Sure, of course.
Alright. What are you doing this for?
It's just for our YouTube channel and it's just for awareness basically because we think this is an important conversation to be had, pretty much. So, hi. So, what's happening? Can you just tell us what's happening over here and what are you doing here?
I got to know about this is the climate change strike that's happening. As the global warming is increasing and the climate is changing all over the world, and we are facing facing the result of it so often. So I'm aware that this climate strike has been going on in Bombay since March, but I got to know of it very recently because of how it's happening all around the world right now. Fridays for Future has gone all over the world, and they've taken up the social media platform to talk about it even more. That's what's happening right now, and we are here to support it, to raise our voice and show people, show the politicians, show the media that we do care and we are aware about the situation that's going out of control these days.
So, what is the primary message over here?
I think there is the primary message is very individualistic when it comes to me. There are a lot of things that I want to cut down on my level, on a personal level. That I saw somebody here holding a banner that said "guilty but ready to change." I think that is very relatable. You asked the general message, the primary message that's here. I think it's for the politicians, it's for the capitalists to hear and bring in a change, because these are the only people who can do something about it. If I cut down the plastic bottles, they're not going to stop production. They're not going to stop the production of, say, straws or whatever it is, these small things, these big things. And I think on an individual level, we need to move out of our comfort zones, be it us women switching to, switching out of sanitary pads because they're very comfortable and we're used to using them, or we not buying that plastic bottle even we are thirsty. There are a lot of things like that, cutting out on food wastage, cutting out on water wastage. So yeah, out of the comfort zone and doing something for the better good, hopefully.
Absolutely. As much as we should actually talk to the politicians, there is a huge difference that we can make on an individual level, right?
We can.
Absolutely. And what do you think would be the most impactful action that we can do on an individual level?
I think on an individual level, as I said, getting out of that comfort zone and giving up things that you're so used to, being aware about what you need to do to bring in a change. And I think once you start following it, you can start getting in more friends, family, to be aware about these situations. And I think one person at a time can do a lot if they
Absolutely.
want.
Education is very important here, right?
Yeah, awareness is.
What do you think of food choices? Do you think our food choices affect the environment and global warming?
They do. We all know they do. Yeah.
And what do you mean? Can you elaborate on that?
I think, it's easy to be. I've been a vegetarian all my life, so it's very easy for me to stay vegetarian. But when it comes to being a vegan, I still have to think about it because I like milk so much. So when I talk to my friends who consume the sort of food that affects the ecology, affects the environment around us, I can understand when they refrain from going for it at a go. But I think we do have a lot of substitutes available in the market these days that can be brought in. That's as you said, what's the primary message here? The primary message here for the people who can on a bigger level bring in a changes to get us those substitutes.
Yeah, absolutely right. In fact, you mentioned going vegan. According to, I think one of the biggest studies on this topic was done a couple of years ago in Oxford. And what they came up with was that in increasing order, you will reduce your carbon footprint way more if you're a vegan than if you're a flexitarian, than if you're a vegetarian, and then meat eating comes right at the bottom. So apparently what they said is you can reduce up to 73% of your carbon footprint by just adopting a vegan or plant. Yeah. After knowing that, do you think it becomes almost like a moral obligation for us to work towards the climate? I understand dairy, right? It's very addictive. Cheese is addictive, dairy is addictive. But do you think somewhere we should draw a line and think about whether sensory pleasures are more important?
Correct, because this is all very temporary. That taste is just there for a few minutes, and what you're doing is there for even when you're gone. And these things right now, the march is happening right now. They have all of us collectively here supporting it. But I don't know, how many people are going to be following the same after 2 months, because this is just a trend that's up right now, and trends go like that. And it's great that that something like this can come out of social media in a positive way. And I don't think if we cannot make a positive change based on these platforms, then I don't think we are good for anything. I think we'd have failed each other. And as you said about it, it becomes a moral obligation. It becomes a moral obligation to shut that tap when I'm brushing my tooth, because it's just in your head. And I think if you're really aware, if you really care, which you will eventually, if you're aware about what's happening, there is no way you will not care if you know what is happening. It's just that maybe you're not aware about it right now. Maybe you've not read enough. Maybe you've not seen people and situations suffering enough. But it'll come to you as well. And it's unavoidable then not to follow those things, not to walk on that path, if you really want to contribute.
Absolutely right. In fact, you spoke about water wastage and stuff like that. I read a recent study that said that for each liter of dairy, you need 2,941 liters of water. Water, yeah. So it involves the animal obviously has to drink water, then they're bathed every day, the gaushalas and their stables are washed every day. So all of that, for each liter, we end up using 2,941. A flexitarian or a meat-based diet is 16 times more resource intensive, whether it's energy or water or electricity, which runs on coal and all that stuff, than a plant-based diet. So having known all that, like you said, absolutely, we have to make an immediate choice and an immediate decision right now and stick to it. Right. What would then stop you from turning to a plant-based diet right now?
It's the kind of lifestyle that's always been there, that you're used to. It's the kind of circle that you hang out with. The kind of, for example, my job. I don't think being in a job like that. I'm not saying that I should not go for it. These in the end turn out to be excuses, because you always have a way out if you want to work around it. But for example, if I'm working in the film industry and we're shooting say 4 to 4 shift, I can't expect to order vegan meal at 2 a.m. in the night or 4 a.m. in the night when and living alone in a city like that. There are a lot of things, but as I said, in the end they're all excuses, because if you want to work around something, you have to take those big steps, and you need to come out as an example if you want to change something. Yeah, to answer your question, what is going to stop me? I think it's a gradual change that will come, but it'll happen every day. And as you said, it's a moral decision that you make. It's an obligation. And then you choose out. So say for example, if I drink 2 glasses of milk each day, maybe I cut down, maybe I shift to almond milk, or maybe I shift to the substitutes and cut it down gradually, and leave that butter vada pav for some.
It's conditioning. It all comes down to conditioning, right? What we've been told. Even if we leave the climate and the environment aside, what do you think about the ethics when it comes to animal agriculture and our usage of animals for consumption?
I think what's been worst for me to see, as I said, it was really easy for me to stay vegetarian because I've always seen it, but it was not because of any religious reason why it is in my family. It was out of choice. I think the worst is while they're alive, the treatment that's there. I have seen chicks hanging upside down on a bike, both sides, and the bike, at a whatnot speed. And imagine yourself like that. These chicks. So I used to live in a very small area in Andheri West, where they have a lot of these butcher shops and everything. So I've seen it a lot, and just give me I don't know how absurd it may sound, but if I smell a chicken, I'd like it raw. I don't want to eat it.
Absolutely.
But a fruit or a vegetable, it's the smell makes you want to. So yeah, it goes down to that level. I don't know why. I think if you put that sort of spices and we give so much time to even a cloth, it'll taste nice after so long. I don't know why do we have to, for that little taste, for our own taste, have to kill animals.
So it all comes down to,
or whatever, for that matter, for your dressing sense, or you want to look cool and you want to have a really cool bag, you're carrying a leather bag. But do you know how much has gone behind to create that one bag which you won't even use after a year? That's ridiculous. I don't know why somebody would support it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, especially in this day and age when there's so much footage out there because of all these hidden cams and places like YouTube, where people can actually go and see. So are you aware of what happens in the dairy farms? Are you aware of, for example, for the cow to give milk, she needs to be pregnant, right? So you've seen the pregnant. So what have you seen? Could you describe it?
I've not seen the pregnant. I have seen how no, I'm so sorry. I'm confusing it with eggs. I was confusing it with eggs. No, okay.
You don't eat eggs, right?
No, I don't eat eggs.
Okay. So what happens in a dairy farm is basically, again, for a mammal to give milk, she needs to be pregnant, right? So now they're obviously not going to wait for the cow to go and get pregnant on her own. So what they do is a process called artificial insemination, which is actually, just to make us feel better about it. What actually happens is they take a fist and they shove it inside the anus of a cow, the mother cow. They hold the uterus because that's where the conception happens. With the other hand, they take an injection, a long injection called a catheter. They fill bull semen into it and they shove it into the vagina while the other hand is holding the uterus and they inject it. So that is so that there's a 100% chance of conception. If that happens to a human woman, what is that called?
That is.
It's called rape, right? It's pretty much called rape. And just to be, no, you don't need to feel bad. The thing is, they don't show all of this. So if you see all these big companies, dairy companies, they have the cows smiling and, you've seen that photo, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, because why do you think they don't show this forcible impregnation?
Yeah, of course, it's a living being.
Absolutely.
No one's going to be cool with it. It's bad for their advertising.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to back out.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm going to back out after listening to this, what you've told me right now.
Yeah. What do you think happens to the babies if it's, for example, if it's a male calf? What do you think happens to the male calf? A male calf cannot produce milk, right?
Right. So I don't know what they do to it.
So what happens is either two things. Either they're sold for their veal. Even though we have a beef ban in our country, are you aware that we're one of the largest exporters of beef and leather in the world?
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, all of it comes from dairy cows. So if you're consuming dairy, you might as well consume beef. It's the same. So what happens to the veal calves, I mean the calves, the male calves, is that they are immediately killed either for the leather or for veal. And I don't know if you know this, but the younger the calf, the more expensive the leather. So there's this thing called slink leather. Are you aware of slink leather? So slink leather is the skin of a fetus. Yeah, and I'll tell you. So basically, how long do you think a cow can live in the natural, in the wild?
I don't know what the usual life cycle is.
The lifespan normally is 20 to 30 years. So when do you think this forcible impregnation happens?
When they're young, when they can. I don't know at what age they can, get pregnant and what age is the proper age for them. But I'm hoping when they're not when they're kids.
Absolutely, when they're kids. 6 months to a year is when that happens. Pretty much.
I was about to guess 6-7 years.
No, 6-7 months. 6 months to a year is when this typically happens. So like any mammal, between two gestation periods, your body needs to cool off, right? That doesn't happen to them. So the babies are taken away, they're killed. What happens is sometimes the baby's dead body is hung in front of the mother, stuffed. It's a practice called khal bacha. You know why that happens? So that the mother sees that and lactates more.
God, oh my, that's horrible.
It's insane, and none of this is shown, right? And these are all standard procedures that you'll see in any tabela or any gaushala.
That happens all over the world exactly the same way.
Absolutely. Khal bacha is a specifically Indian thing. There's another thing that happens across the world also in India, which is for the calf, and they put a nose ring with spikes, so that when the calf goes to drink the mother's milk, the spikes, plunge into the mother's udder, and the mother herself pushes the calf away. So this cycle happens for 5 to 6 years, after which the cow's body is too weak to produce milk, and at which point she's called a spent cow. That's the industry term for her. These are the ones that you typically hear about when you see lorries being crammed with cows and all the stuff on the news. Is this process? They're on the way to the slaughterhouse, okay, and then this is still when they're maximum 6 to 8 years of age, which is still a fraction of their natural lifespan. So this is what happens in dairy then. How do you feel about that?
I'm sold. I think I'm quitting. Yeah, like I'm sure it won't be that easy. It will be sometimes curd and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's strong, and I do have vegans around me who keep saying on and off. But yeah, it's It's awful, and more awful is that it's being allowed. It's allowed. That's what I was saying when I said about substitutes. The substitutes available in the market are so expensive when you compare them. That's what the government needs to do. They need to make them affordable.
The thing is, the dairy industry is heavily subsidized, right?
Yeah.
The problem with the substitutes being expensive is also a case of demand and supply. So the more people there are, the cheaper it's going to get. For example, I think soy milk, till 3 years ago, you couldn't find soy milk anywhere. Now it's in every general store. And what was earlier $200 is now $120. It's just going to keep going lower and lower. Dairy is heavily subsidized. So the other thing that we can do personally is, see, the thing is, when it comes to dairy milk, the process is long. You impregnate, you wait for her to get pregnant, then you get the milk out, then you process it, boil it. When it comes to nut milks, all you do is soak them, blend them with water, and then strain them. That's it. It takes like 15 to 20 minutes. It works out way cheaper even than dairy milk if you do it at home. And also, no animal has to suffer for it, pretty much. So when we have that option, do you think it becomes an ethical responsibility again, an obligation to do it?
To go for it, to choose this.
That's amazing. We've had a great conversation. Can I give you a card with a lot more information? We're not from any company, we're not from any NGO. Awesome. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Gotcha.